You have just done a collaboration with Confidence Man,
Yes.
Gossip, which has the iconic line, Tina says you're a cunt. Did you second guess yourself about being able to release that? Did you think, can that be a lyric for me?
Well, the good thing about that was it was released through their label, not mine. So when I said Tina says you're a cunt, I thought, not my problem.
Hi, I'm Nick, and I'm joined by Jade for the latest in NME's In Conversation series. How's it going today?
Good, yes, very good. Just got back from holiday, so I'm feeling refreshed.
And full on now, between now and album release.
Oh, it's going to be absolutely relentless, and I'm ready for it. I love it.
Does it feel different doing it by yourself as opposed to with your bandmates? Has it got a different vibe?
It's different in like good and bad ways. It's good in that obviously there's a lot more freedom now on my own. Like the schedule is what I want it to be. I'm doing opportunities that just I want to do. Obviously music wise, I've got so much more freedom now. But there are times when it's quite difficult, like getting used to like doing interviews on my own, or if I'm tired, you know, there's no one to bounce off anymore or like have banter with, things like that, which has took a minute to get used to. But I do love it, I must say.
What was the starting point for the album? I was kind of wondering, like, did you kind of have a very clear idea of what you wanted it to be at the start, or was it a little bit of trial and error, finding your sound, what kind of songs you wanted to write?
I think I knew kind of who I am on my own and what I wanted to show, but there was a lot of trial and error initially. Like as soon as Little Mix did our like final tour date, I pretty much went straight in the studio with MNEK, who's a really good friend of mine, and it meant that we could just spend like literally months just trying different things and seeing what lands. Like, what do I love writing? What is my style now on my own? Like lyrically, what do I want to say? So that took a minute. And I'm really glad that I took my time with it, because I feel like now when I look back, what that must have been 2022. And some of those songs I do feel like are too similar to like Little Mix World. So I think it took me a minute to like learn how to not write a Little Mix song. And that, you know, which I loved, obviously. Very proud of that. But I think because I took it literally like 2 years, maybe more, to like find myself again, I think it was really worth it. It was worth the wait, because then I really was confident enough to be a lot more experimental with the music and be a lot more like brutally honest with what I want to sing and write about. If I'd gone all guns blazing like right off the back of the group, I wouldn't have had the success I have now, or the songs that I have now.
At the start of the process, were you fully confident as a songwriter? Because you'd written quite a lot of Little Mix songs, but always with your bandmates. So I guess it's always the three of you kind of doing it together.
Yeah, I think I loved songwriting, and I knew it was something I wanted to do more of, not just for me but for the artists. So like towards the end of the group, I was like writing for other artists, or starting to like become more known as a songwriter. And I think in the UK, I do own that, and I feel really confident about that. But I think when I was initially flying to LA, to be in these rooms with like really big producers and really big songwriters, I would get in my own head a little bit initially, because it did feel like starting again. Just because I was in this huge girl band doesn't mean I was going to get given all these opportunities overnight. You know, I had to work my way up again, especially in LA. So I had to do a lot of like pushing myself and forcing myself into rooms that I might have been uncomfortable with, because I had to challenge myself to become a better writer and just get more confident, understand that, you know, so many writers and producers work differently, and the whole first album was about finding the people I love working with. So there were some amazing sessions, there were some really crap ones. There were ones where, you know, I didn't gel with the producer in the room, things like that, but I had to keep like speed dating all these creatives to like find my people. And I'm really proud of myself actually for pushing myself to do that, because I would just fly to LA on my own. This is, you know, even before I had a lot of my team around me. Like I was meeting with different managements, different labels, and yeah, just figuring out like who my people were. So yeah.
At this point in your career, are you able to kind of shake off a bad session? Can you rationalize in your head, say it's not me, it's about the chemistry? Or is there still a part of you that thinks, oh God, I was in the room with this really big person, it just didn't work?
It doesn't matter how big you are. I think everyone has those moments where like if you have a bad session, you come out and you're like, I'm the worst writer in the world, or like that was terrible. And I think there's a lot of pressure as well when you only have a day or two with a really big producer or another co-writer, and you always want to give the best first impression. And sometimes if I was doing 2-3 sessions in a day, that can be really exhausting, just like energy wise. And I had to stop doing that because by the end of it, my head just wasn't there, and I hate the idea that those people weren't getting the best of me. So yeah, but I've got better at shaking that off, and actually I've got a few like really amazing songwriter friends who, if I feel like that, I can like message or reach out to, and they're like, babe, everybody feels that way now and again. It is just, it's like any job, isn't it? You're not going to excel every single day you turn up for work. Like, that's not human. So, and I've learned along the way as well that sometimes when I really don't want to go to a writing session, I should just go. Sometimes you'll write your best music when you can't be asked. Genuinely. That's how like Angel was written, Fantasy. I just literally did a writing trip, and I was so busy beforehand. I felt really uninspired, and like I really couldn't be bothered to do it. But I forced myself to turn up every day, and then, and then you love it, and you're like, oh yeah, I do really love this actually.
Was there a particular song that's made the album that in the process felt like pivotal? Like when you wrote, you felt, right, we've got it, we've hit a stride now.
I think 100% Age of My Dreams was the moment, because up until that point, there were a couple of songs where I was like, oh, maybe this is the first single, but I didn't have that like, this is it, or like, this is special. And I think it is true, like every artist says that when you find the big one, or the one is, quintessentially you as an artist, you get that like belly feeling, you get the butterflies, you see the music video in your head. And yeah, the morning of Angel of My Dreams, I was having a like mental breakdown because I was in LA, I was lonely, I'd been doing all these sessions and nothing was clicking. I just got a phone call that morning to say that the head of the label was leaving, so I was freaking out about that, because sometimes, if someone new comes into the equation at a big label, if they don't champion you, or if they're not there from the beginning, they mightn't be as invested or passionate about the project. So I was really, really freaking out about that, and I didn't want to go to the session. And the only reason I went was because one of my friends, Pablo, who I wrote the song with, was going to be there, and I thought, I can't let him down. So I waltzed in a terrible mood, and I was ranting and raving about the music industry and how much I hate it, and it's so fickle and all these things. And then we wrote Into My Dreams. So that was the turning point for me, and that was the moment where I was like, this is the first single. This is what I want to tell everyone, and like this is the perfect introduction into the Jade world.
Did everyone agree with you at the label and on your team? They all
Yeah, and I was surprised,
Yeah.
because I think it's such a chaotic song.
Yeah.
And it's not, it's not a safe bet. It's not really radio friendly. It's
Doesn't
not
sound like anything else.
No. So I was like expecting a fight. I was expecting the label to be like, oh, like it's great, but maybe not good for a first look, or whatever. But everyone across the board was like, it's the first single. And that was such a relief as well. And I think that was the catalyst to like forming the rest of the album. It gave me the courage to be like, okay, when I'm my authentic self, which is like pop loving, genre sort of experimenting, and like Frankenstein-ing these pop songs together. I think that's where I thrive the most, when I'm in a room with people that are up for that, like they're up for having fun with it, changing the tempo or the vibe or whatever that is. I was really grateful that everyone was on board.
What's the overall story you're telling with the album? I mean, that Showbiz Baby is such a kind of great evocative title from the start.
I think with that Showbiz Baby, this is my first album. I want people listening to feel like they are literally hearing me find my sound. Obviously my voice is the running thread, and maybe some of the concepts, but it is a bit like all over the place, and I wanted it to sound like that. I want you to listen to it and be like, oh god, what's the next track, like what's she coming out with next? Because that's true. That's what I was doing for the last 3 years. I was, in many different writing rooms, trying many different kinds of songs. And so the first record especially should reflect that journey. There'll be years to come to do like a super sophisticated, cohesive album, but I think that Showbiz Baby is about chaos. It's about showing people all of the like musical influences that I had growing up. I went back to like, okay, what did Jade love listening to before Little Mix? Like, who was I before then? What did I grow up loving? And how can I sort of merge those influences into like one pop record? And that Showbiz Baby wasn't the original title. the fans kind of steered me that way. When I released It Girl, one of the lyrics is that Showbiz Baby. And in my head I had a different album title and I was really hell-bent on it. But then I saw all the like fans commenting online like about how amazing the lyrics were for the song. They kept referencing that Showbiz Baby and that made me be like, oh, I feel like this fits better actually for what the album organically became. And it says a lot. Like I do think I'm very tongue-in-cheek. I don't take myself too seriously. I like to laugh at my like traumas or shortcomings, and you know, I feel like my music a lot of the time has like a dark undertone, but it's quite playful. And I feel like that Showbiz Baby just as a phrase embodies that. So it is the perfect album title, I think.
Are you quite good at switching between like showbiz on mode and then just like downtime, not showbiz at all mode?
Oh, absolutely. I do feel like I have like double life vibes. It's very Hannah Montana of me. You know, I love being a pop star with every fiber of my being. Like, I really do fucking love it. But then I love when I go home that I can just put my pajamas on and sit with my dogs and my boyfriend, my best friend, watch the telly and just be really normal. Like, and I feel like that is one of the reasons why I've remained sane in the last like 14 years of my music career, because I'm able to separate the two. And I've seen it so much over the years. Like I've met so many people along the way who I think don't know how to switch that off, and that's where like problems begin. And I think I've got a really good team of people around me as well that keep me grounded. Like I am very family orientated. I still live with my best friend from school. And I think that's important to have those people there that like if I come in from work, like my best friend Holly, she's just not asked in the slightest about what I do. She's obviously very proud, but like
She still expects you to take the bins out.
absolutely. So, and I think that's important to have. And also it's more exciting for me because I do feel like that means that being Jade the pop star is like, it's like another persona. It's like almost like a drag persona, which I'm also very influenced by, like drag culture, because these queens, you know, they have their day-to-day life and then they transform into these magical dolls, and you know, they have a whole other personality and stage presence. And I think that helps me like channel that confidence by knowing it's almost like a different character on stage.
You mentioned the album reflecting some of your childhood influences. There's a song on there, Stop, which features... I couldn't tell if it was a kind of sample or interpolation of Stop in the Name of Love by
Yeah.
Diana Ross and the Supremes. What made you want to do that? Because it's quite audacious. It's such an iconic song.
I know, and you know, it is, you have to be careful when you're sampling something that iconic, but I think what's really lovely about Before You Break My Heart, couldn't call it Stop for copyright reasons.
Oh, I think my stream said Stop.
You can call it what you want. Yeah, I think what's really special about that is the chorus vocal is actually me as a child singing it.
Oh.
Yeah, so the song's about me sort of not forgetting my younger self and how like far we've come together, not like losing sight of that in this showbiz world. And I wrote it with Pablo Bowman and Mike Sabbath. When I was showing Mike loads of different like childhood videos of me singing in like competitions or at talent shows, and I played him me dressed as Diana Ross singing Stop in the Name of Love, and that just inspired the song.
Who taped it? Was it your mum who taped all the...
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, very low quality, but I think that's the magic of it. I think it was important for me on the album to have like just one song that really like fed that part of myself. And it is such an iconic song. And I think because of that, I didn't want to make it too experimental. Like it is what it is. It's obviously very obvious that that's the sample, and we run with it throughout the whole song, and in sort of honor or homage to Diana Ross, because she is my favorite artist of all time.
What was the story behind Unconditional? Because that song's got this big blast of guitars on it that people might not expect from you either.
Yeah, the element of surprise is like what I love to do. I like people to hear my music and be like, oh god, like I wasn't expecting that. And I think Unconditional was the last song that made it on the album. Again with Pablo and Mike, I was having a really tough time. The song's about my mom, and like she's got lupus and she's had that my whole life. The week that we wrote Unconditional, my mom was in hospital, and I was obviously very upset about that. So I went in the studio with Pablo and Mike, told them what was going on, and literally in between that session I was like in and out of the studio room, like on the phone to the hospital and my brother, and it was all very touch and go. And the song Unconditional is about just my like undying love for my mum, and the hope that like I wish I could just fix her, but I can't, sort of thing. And then the musical references for it, I think in homage to my mum, like she loves Diana Ross, she loves like disco, so that you can hear that. But I wanted to merge it with a bit of like MGMT vibes. I think you can hear that with like the sort of synth sounds and a bit of gossip maybe.
Yeah, I wondered if that. It kind of sounded a bit Blondie meets Gossip.
Right, I mean, I'll take that all day. And I've got no problem with like admitting references. I think it's important, especially for this first album. Like I say, it was all about me, like experimenting, a bit like, oh, a bit of this with a bit of that. And in that session, you know, I was playing all these different genres and different songs. But like, how can we, you know, merge it? And I love like Frankenstein-ing a song together and making people feel emotional, but like almost in a confused way. Because Unconditional is really sad, but then you've got that like elevated chorus where it's like this whimsical disco reference. I love the idea of people like blasting it in the house and dancing around like this, but maybe like crying at the same time.
The ideal reaction.
Yeah. Happy sad songs. That's my favourite.
What were the influences on Self-saboteur? Is it partly like a RuPaul in a saboteur thing? Was that playing on your mind at all, I wondered?
Yeah, Self-saboteur was one of the first songs that I wrote for the album, and it managed to still make it. So I think that speaks volume for like how good I think it is. It was originally a lot more stripped back actually, but that song is about when I first met Jordan, and I think prior to Jordan I really did have a habit of just like ruining something or like running away before it like got good. So Self-saboteur is kind of about that feeling of knowing something feels amazing but you're very scared of it in case it goes wrong and like proves you right, sort of thing. So I really do love that one, and I love what it became. I think the really long like outro in Self-saboteur is like very cool. We kind of did that last minute to kind of help make it feel more fitting for that what the album became, because I feel like that Showbiz Baby it's very loud, it's very noisy. It's a pop record, and originally Self-saboteur was very like hello. So we had to like give it a bit of
Do you find it hard to play a song for someone if it's about that person, if it's about your mum or about Jordan, about anyone?
I never played me mum Unconditional.
You haven't? She's still not heard it?
I think she's heard it via someone else, but I get really awkward with it. I don't know, it feels quite vulnerable. And like with Jordan, I'll play more of my music because I really value his opinion, like as a fellow musician. But I definitely get nervous when I play him things because I find it hard to talk about how I feel. So sometimes I'll not speak to that person, I'll just write it in a song instead. And I'll be like, and then, you know, he'll hear it and be like, oh, okay, that's how you were feeling at that point. Okay, that makes a lot more sense now. Even now, like when we first started the launch of this project, I'd had to go in all these rooms with like radios and all those people and sit in these meetings and play the music and just be sat there like, and everyone's there like, I just find that so awkward, but you kind of have to play the game in that sense.
Do you mind discussing what a song's about? I say, having asked you to say, but
No,
but because I know some I think Lorde says now she doesn't want to. She's
oh,
just,
really?
yeah, and she's not the only artist who thinks that.
I think there's some songs where I feel like there isn't a need to. I like doing it at this phase in my career because I like to show people that I do actually write my own music. I feel like being in a girl band, you spend years convincing people that you actually are a credible artist. And I think that is my own ego too, like to a degree. I've definitely got a bit of a chip on my shoulder about like feeling like an underdog or having to prove to people that I'm like worthy of a seat at the table, whatever. So for me right now, I think it is important to talk about my music because people that mightn't have known that might listen and be like, oh, I didn't realise that it actually comes from her. But yeah, I don't think that means that every song needs an explanation.
Needs a full like run through.
No.
Is there a lot of like, if you've got a lot of material kind of waiting in the wings, could there be a companion album or EP further down the line?
Yeah. There's hundreds of songs, and it was really difficult to pick the songs for the album. There's so much music that I still love and adore, and I had to like mourn the idea that they wouldn't make it on the album because you can't have like a 50-track album, obviously. But I am inspired by like, I remember Uzo Emenike saying this to me all the time when I panic about stuff like this. He was like, Break My Soul by Beyonce is like 8 years old before it came out. And if that, I think that's true. But there's so many songs like that that have, you know, sat on the shelf until the right moment came for it. So I do believe in that. Like if the music's meant to come out, it will. And, you know, I will be wanting to do a sort of deluxe version of that Showbiz Baby, but I think it'll be, I want it to almost be like a new album, because that's long gone now, the idea of like sticking 3 more tracks on an album, be like, here's the deluxe. I feel like you have to think of new ways to make that exciting for people, and just for me, like genuinely as well, like I want to feel excited by it, so why not make it almost like a new project, like a sort of sister project to the debut album.
It almost has to be a sequel now, doesn't it? Like,
yeah, so that's definitely how I'm thinking about it. And like I say, there's so much music, you know, with similar concepts, so it would be very fitting to like carry that on. And because I tried so many different sounds as well, I've got so many songs that, you know, didn't fit the vibe of this album, but that's not to say they won't fit something else in the future.
well, from what you're saying, it sounds like there could be some really amazing songs that just weren't loud enough for this album, that were a bit too subdued, but they could be
Absolutely.
amazing songs melodically, like lyrically.
Yeah. So I think, and also like you shouldn't like change up every song just because you want it to fit on an album. There's certain songs like that are quite demure and very cutesy. They didn't need all the bells and whistles, so when the time's right to like release something like that, I will.
When we spoke to Sugar Babes in March, they said that they started writing a song with you, but they didn't think it was finished. I think they maybe said there's a chorus and a verse. Have you had a chance to go back to it?
No, I mean, I'd love to. We're just both so busy at the minute. Like, they're absolutely smashing it. And when they wanted me to join their session, I was like, it's the Sugar Babes. Like, I love them so much. I think they're incredible. And I was very honoured to like even be in the room with them. And when you see them sing together just in a studio environment, I was honestly blown away. Like their voices together is just heavenly. Like they really are meant to be a girl group together. Yeah, it felt like a really special experience just getting in the room with them, to be honest.
Is there anyone else you'd particularly like to write with or for?
I'd love to write more K-pop music. I think there's a lot of freedom with K-pop. I like that it's all a bit chaotic. I loved the gnarly song by Cat's Eye because I just liked that it was bold and adventurous. And I think with K-pop there is like less limitations to what you can and can't do with pop music. I find that really inspiring. There is a kind of like Xenomania vibe to their music, especially the girl bands. I'd love to work with like Chapel. I think she's amazing. I think we've got a sort of similar love of like theatricality with our vocals. So I'd be interested to see like what could come of that.
And she kind of likes a chaotic vibe on certain songs.
I
She
think
can
so,
do
yeah.
big tempo switches.
She can do it all. Like her vocals are amazing, and I'm a very sort of more is more girl. I like maximalist pop. I like when you're, you know, throwing the kitchen sink in. That's very much my vibe. So I look at Chapel and I'm like, you get it.
You have just done a collaboration with Confidence Man,
Yeah.
Gossip, which has the iconic line, Tina says you're a cunt. Did you second guess yourself about being able to release that? Did you think, can that be a lyric for me? Or were you just dead set on it?
Well, the good thing about that was it was released to their label, not mine. So when I said Tina says you're a cunt, I thought, not my problem. You can deal with that.
It's on Fans now. People at Brighton Private has the Fans.
Yeah, and that was just they sent me the song, like the original version of it. And again, I was just drawn to their chaos. Like, I think they're amazing. And I like that this in the best way possible. They remind me of a really like cooler, like high fashion Aqua or like Venga Boys. And I mean that in the most complimentary way possible, because I grew up loving that kind of music. They're just unapologetically like themselves, like they're chaos, they're fun to watch. The music's really cool. So when they sent me the track and asked if I want to be on it, I was like, absolutely. And then we got in the studio together, and that Tina line was just sort of improvised. It was me and Grace like at the mic together, just like literally gossiping, and it just sort of organically came out. I think they obviously brought me onto it as like the pop girly, and I don't think they knew me that well. I think they didn't know that I'm quite introverted, but I can be a bit of a cunt. So I think when I said that line, it surprised them, and it got like a big reaction in the room, and then they're like, oh, it has to be in the song. And I had a lot of fun like shooting the video with them. Their energy is like very infectious. So yeah.
This is a related question, but in a much more serious way. At your live shows, you're known for speaking out, fuck
Mm.
reform, fuck transphobia, fuck J.K. Rowling. Is this something you think about in advance, or can it be quite impulsive? Because I'm guessing that every time you say something like that, you know you're going to get a load of trolls on you straight away.
I think it's a bit of both, really. I think I've always been quite outspoken. Maybe now as a solo artist, I feel a bit more liberated to like say exactly how I feel. You know, I'm not just I'm responsible just for myself now and not other people. So I feel like, I think especially with the kind of fan base that I have, it's important to show, especially my younger audience and younger fans, that you shouldn't be afraid to speak out about something you believe in. And like with Mighty Hoopla, the chant then is like, you know, I do see obviously Pride as a protest, and for me that was my version of doing that. But I think sometimes I have a moment before stage, I'm like, am I gonna do it? Am I gonna do it? And then, you know, I just think, oh fuck it. Do you know what I mean? I think, you know, I'm not always gonna get it right, but I also think it's important for me to stand up for what I believe in. And if that means, you know, there being consequences to that, then so be it. And I think like with the transphobia stuff, I think it was interesting for me to just get a teeny taste of what that community has to face every single day. You know, just because I spoke out about it on a public stage, I obviously got an influx in hatred and abuse, and I can handle that because I am kind of used to to that to a degree. But it was so personal and awful. And like I say, that was just a taste of what the trans community have to face every day online and in real life. So that in itself made me happy that I did it.
Yeah, it proves that it kind of hit the spot in a awful
Yeah,
way.
yeah. And I think, you know, same with Glastonbury. I'm aware that people are going to disagree or have something to say. You know, I saw a lot of, I guess, people that don't really know me be like, oh, well, the set was good or music's alright until she made it political. And it's like, well, you don't know me then, because I've always been that girl. Do you know what I mean? Even in Little Mix, I've always spoke up about politics. I've always said if I think something's not right. And I've always encouraged my fan base to, you know, not even necessarily agree with me, but be aware of what's going on in the world. So, you know, if you don't like it, don't listen to it.
Listen to something else.
Yeah.
At what point in your career did you kind of realise that you were a role model? I mean, I think when you were talking about Sugar Babes earlier, it's clear you were a fan of them.
Yeah.
But obviously, I think pop fans growing up, we kind of look at girl bands almost as like superheroes. They're like, just that's what Spice Girls were like for me. But Little Mix would have been that for so many people. Is that something you can get your head around?
No. I find the term role model quite scary, because I think it puts you on a pedestal that everyone's gagging to kick you off. You know, I don't sit down and go, I am a role model. Do you know what I mean? If someone wants to bestow me that title, then by all means do, but don't expect me to, you know, always get it right. I am human. Especially with Little Mix, like, I guess we were influential for a lot of, especially young women, because we really did stand for like sisterhood and embracing who you are and femininity and everything. So I understand why people said that, and I am really proud of the fact that we maybe influenced a lot of girls in a positive way. And yeah, like growing up, I was obsessed with girl bands, and I think girl bands are really special because they do embody just like girl power and friendship, and sticking together. And I think girl bands are like essential in pop music. So yeah, but I think on my own, I don't know, if people think I'm a role model, that's really lovely. I think what I always try to do is just be myself, and also own up when I do get it wrong. I'm happy to, you know, hold myself accountable for things, whether that's like with allyship or, you know, educating myself properly. But I'm not sure if I want to be a role model. I don't know.
What can we expect from your first headline tour? You've been doing festivals, obviously, all summer, but at your own show, you've got a bit more time, probably a bit more control over everything.
Yeah, I'm really excited for my own tour. I think it's been cool with the festival run to, I mean, for me, it was my first time performing on my own. Like, my first solo performance was Big Weekend, I think. It was like a headline slot.
Fire,
Oh my God, I was so nervous. But I'm kind of grateful to just be thrown in the deep end. I feel like I thrive when that happens. like with the Brit Awards, it was like, okay, how can I make this as difficult for myself as possible? Sometimes I feel like the more pressure I put on myself, the more I excel. I don't know if that's healthy, but that's just my vibe. I think the joy of festivals is you get to surprise people, you get to convert people into fans. You know, you get people walking past that aren't really that bothered, and then they watch it, oh god, she's quite good actually. So I enjoyed seeing a lot of that, and I think it was good training for like my own tour. But I think that Showbiz Baby tour will be very theatrical. You know, I'm doing smaller venues, which I'm actually really excited about. I'm excited to go from, you know, all of the bells and whistles of Little Mix on like big arena stages and stuff to having more like of an intimate show again, and like going back to like the root of what I loved about music. And I think I'm gonna make that budget work to its final penny. I think I really thrive with that as well. I get really excited about like being on a smaller stage, but showing everyone that there's so much you can do with that doesn't involve just like standing with a mic stand. You know what I mean? I'll still give it my all, and I'll do everything I can to put on a big show.
I'll just ask a couple more questions. First
Yeah.
is, obviously the album's that Showbiz Baby.
Yeah.
Of everyone you've met, who most personified showbiz? So I guess you've met a lot of people.
Yes. First one's Lady Gaga, because I met her at the start of my career when I was 18.
Wow.
And she performed like on the X Factor, one of the live shows, and we met her backstage. And you know when someone just has that like superstar aura about them? She smelled really good, and we said we were big fans, and she just like reached into her hair and went, "Here's a hairband," and she gave me one of her hair grips out of her head. That was her gift.
Wow.
And obviously, known hair grips, I've lost it many moons ago. But that was quite an iconic moment, and that's when I was like, okay, that's what you have to strive to be, that level of iconic.
Regal.
Yes, regal with it. The second person is Diana Ross, because she's my idol, but I think she embodies showbiz. She's the OG, like, showbiz into pop music queen. She changed the game for, like, women of colour, I think, transitioning into pop music. And when I met her, again, just that aura, that, like, super showbiz aura. And even now, you know, she's in her 70s, I believe, and she'll get on that stage and she'll wear the big ass hair and the feather boas and the sequin gowns. It's all very showbiz. So I'm hugely inspired by that. And then the third person is David LaChapelle, who I met last year. I did a music video with him. And I think David is showbiz personified. You know, he comes from an era where it's like the budget was endless. He's done some iconic videos like Britney's Every Time video and Christina Aguilera. Like, he's worked with all of these amazing artists, and he knows exactly what he wants, and he's got that kind of old school showbiz energy and attitude, but I really love it. And I think we really bounced off each other, because for me, the more like bigger the character, the better for me. And when we worked together, he was so enthusiastic and loud, and when I went to his studio, he had like a mood board of like Jade images, and he was like blasting Asia My Dreams, and I walked into the room and I was like, oh my god. It felt very showbiz. And there was a moment like on the fantasy video shoot where he like called me into this room and literally put me on a pedestal. They put a pedestal in the middle of the room. They made me stand on it. And then him and his team like picked me apart. They picked apart like what I was wearing, and they were nipping me and like just in this dress. David was just sat there like looking like, you know, as the sort of leader of the pack. And I remember that moment being like, this is literally what I've always dreamed of. This is what I've dreamed of. David LaChapelle telling me about myself, making me the best version of myself. And if you watch the fantasy video shoot, you'll never get light and like it. Like, that's what I mean by showbiz. He gets it. Like, he makes every star look the best they possibly can. And it was just so fab, the shoot day. Like, the choreographer that he brought on set, like all the team he'd worked with for years. And the choreographer was very like 5, 6, 7, 8, you know, it was like all so show busy. And I absolutely loved it.
The last question. If any Little Mix deep cut or like less prominent single could pop off on TikTok, and become like a belated hit, which one would you
Oh.
like it to be?
That's been released.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't even a single, but nowadays it feels like any song can pop off and
I know, it's so true. Anything off the LM5 album, to be honest, I think is worthy of that. Wasabi did have its moment. That's my favourite. It kind of did pop off on TikTok. There's a song I wrote years ago called Woman's World, which was on the LM5 album. And just because that's about like the struggle for women, I'd love to see something like that pop off. You know, when people do like sort of politically charged or serious videos with like a song that like goes viral because of that. I love the idea of that. And then I think just for like old time's sake, I'd love like Wings to pop off again. That was so special to us because it was our first single.
Yeah.
Like it'll always like have a place in my heart. And I think if that did the rounds again, I think I'd feel really good about it.
Needs to get a film sync, like Red on the Dance Floor, maybe.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of TikTok now and with film, like you just never know what song years later is gonna pop off again. Like, could Sophia Ellis Baxter ever have predicted? Yeah. That song is like humongous. It was originally anyways, but I love the idea of like a song getting a new lease of life, like Kate Bush with Running Up That Hill, like crazy. I
was in Norway a few months ago at this bar and like these like 18-year-olds were doing karaoke to Murder on the Dance Floor. This is wild.
That's what I mean, like, and I'd love that for Little Mix. I'd love for our music to like come back round, and I'd love for it to be the reference and new artists writing rooms.
You've set them a challenge now.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.